What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And I'm gonna talk about everybody on this thumbnail, right? But first, we're gonna start with this one, Carolyn Rodriguez. And she's kind of the inspiration, if you will, for this video. And there's kind of a lot of layers to it, and I think it's an important conversation that we have, and I'm really curious you guys' feedback. Let me know if the thumbnail as the backdrop is a little too distracting. Shout out to the subscriber that sent me a graphics card for the computer and a new power supply, so I'm kind of playing around with what I can do. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Of course, like, subscribe, all the stuff that everybody else on YouTube wants you to do. And let's get into this. So Carolyn Rodriguez is on Hoodstocks, okay? A couple days ago, I think Tuesday. And it's odd because she's talking all about Dopehouse. And my guess is there was an arrangement ahead of time of what she is and isn't going to talk about. And clearly she was not going to talk about her ex-husband, SPM, but she was going to talk about his record label, Dopehouse. But she ain't really got shit to do with either one anymore. And this goes to kind of a bigger point, right? So for those that don't know, Carolyn Rodriguez was married to SPM. To the best of my knowledge, they weren't together back when he was running around, sleeping and preying on little girls. She decided to get with him after he was convicted of that. But so they were married, and she was running Dopehouse Records, which is SPM's label, and was all, the free SPM and the concerts, all the stuff, right? She was behind a lot of that. And she was going to visit him, and whether she would bring him stuff or not, whatever, there's lots of rumors, but what is not a rumor, what is a fact is she got caught in the visiting room with him, and he has isolated visits, right? Because he's not around anybody else, despite fucking Juan Gotti's goofy ass song about talking to him on the yard the other day. So she went to go visit him, and she got caught giving him a mamon. I think the medical term is fellatio. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. And she was banned for visiting him for life, right? She was no longer allowed to visit him. So then, of course, she's not very useful to him because she can't go up there and see him. And so he divorces her, publicly humiliates her. It's kind of hard to imagine how you could be more humiliated than marrying a chomo, right? But makes fun of her publicly and cuts her loose. And she ain't had nothing to do with Dopehouse since, and clearly it's taken a hit on her bank account because last I heard she was doing food deliveries, in LA and Postmates, and heard somewhere there was an OnlyFans, but she don't take clothes off, which she's also like 50 years old. She probably shouldn't do an OnlyFans at 50, but teach their own, right? Women's empowerment, do you? But so it's weird to hear her hollering all this Dopehouse stuff, right? And none of those fools really have a whole lot to do with Dopehouse Records anymore, because it has become kind of toxic for these older cats to push that line the way that they have for the last 20 years or whatever it is. And now SPM has a new wife, who I think if you do the math, she's like the same age now as SPM's 9-year-old victim. Just the layers of disgusting when it comes to this dude just keep piling on, right? And if you don't argue with me in the comments about SPM didn't do this, or the stripper Bash lied to you, right? Or this, Gotti lied to you, Carolyn lied to you. They all fucking lied to you. If you want the truth, you can always go to Texas Prison Stories. My homeboy Tim Snow has made some videos about SPM and has really kept his foot on those folks' neck for a long time for just the disgusting nature of the whole thing. But her on Hoodstocks in 2025 as the ex of this dude, hollering Dopehouse this and Dopehouse that, just goes to show you the stranglehold that Dopehouse has on specifically the raza rap of Texas, but the rap scene kind of to some degree in general. And it's only in recent years, thanks to social media, that the true nature of SPM and stuff is really getting out there. So what does this have to do with Mexican OT and Peso Peso? I'm gonna explain, right? These dudes have caught some flack, caught some heat for being linked to SPM, and I feel like the blame is wrongfully laid. I know Mexican OT's been in the headlines lately with the whole saying the N-word and what you're gonna do about it, which was probably not the best answer to that question. But I'm not getting into all that, right? I'm not from Texas. But he caught flack, early on, for being linked to Dopehouse and to SPM. But my understanding of that situation is the way Mexican OT kind of got on the scene in music was some rap competition, right? Some people from a big radio station out there also have a YouTube channel, but it's in the pocket of Dopehouse, right? It's a very favorable SPM, free SPM type channel, but they also hold rap contests. And I'm sure SPM is the money behind all of that, right? He is still one of, if not the highest streaming, brown rappers in the game, which is sad, but I mean, it is what it is. And so, and there was a show in LA and Bass and all that. I'll get to that stuff in a second. But so OT is in a rap competition, right? And he wins, right? Because he got bars. So he wins, but he's not from the hood. He ain't got the hood behind him. He got folks behind him now, but starting out, he's just a dude that wants to rap, right? Just a Mexican that raps. And so he makes it. And I think they give him like an SPM beat or something like that. He was wanting at that time to sign to Dopehouse. I bet Dopehouse is sad that they didn't sign him, and I bet he's really glad that they didn't. But at the time, he was wanting to sign to them. He just wants to rap. He wants to get on, right? And instead of looking at this through kind of the self-righteous, behind a computer screen, adult in another state or whatever mindset, think of it through the mindset of a youngster that just wants to be a rapper. And this is the biggest name in Raza rap in Texas history, right? I don't even think Mexican OT was born, or maybe he was in diapers still when SPM caught his case, and these old weirdos, Bass and Juan Gotti, Carolyn Rodriguez, and these cats did a masterful job lying to the people and making up excuses for their little predator poppy SPM. And so these kids growing up in Texas hear a little bit here and there, but it don't really matter to them so much. And I think that's understandable. Now, OT winds up getting tons of pushback, right? And Swifties on him, everybody's on, especially from California. Damn, what if it was a Chomo, this and that? And of course he backs away and that's it. And now he's doing his thing. I think he went to go diss Peso Peso, right? But now he's off doing his thing. They get along. It is what it is. Peso Peso, right? He's got Sauce Walker behind him. He's got music power behind him without having to mess with Dopehouse. But again, he's been criticized before because he's done some of these Dopehouse concerts, right? And to the best of my knowledge, you've never heard Peso, you've never heard OT say free SPM, right? But have they done Dopehouse stuff? Yes, and Peso did too. But understand that SPM's coming through from prison, right? But through Dopehouse and through his people, and he's paying 5 times what you charge for these shows, right? He's got a ton of money, and he's using that. And that's why I said a predator strikes back. He sees that these older cats that created a space for him to deny the charges and lie and victim shame and all this other stuff. Those dudes, the Basses, the Juan Gottis, that kind of stuff, Tim Snow has knocked them out the game. Like, they don't want no smoke no more. They're just kind of sitting in the corner, sitting on their hands, and won't even say his name, right? And I feel like they've been let off the hook easy. This whole thing of the girl was a stripper working at the club, Bass made that up on Vlad, and it went out to millions and millions of people. The whole thing of the 9-year-old and she lied and it was a dream and all that. That's Juan Gotti and his little make-believe song that he did and ran millions and millions of views. So these dudes are predators in their own right. They may not have been running around, fondling children the way the SPM was, but they certainly gave him a cover for it. And of course he ran with it, right? And it has allowed him to remain successful and allowed Dopehouse to remain a factor. But that's starting to be whittled away now as people learn the truth and they see the truth. And they're like, man, this ain't cool. And the SPM spazzing out and cutting off people and doing all stuff, right? So he's losing his older fan base, the people that grew up on his music. So he needs a younger one. He needs these youngsters. How do you do that? You bankroll these young rappers that really don't know a lot about your background, weren't even around when you were a factor in the streets and when you were running around with little kids, and just want to make music, They want to get on. And that is the rap game, right? Look at all the Diddy stuff and the stuff that people put up with Diddy on the promise of a career. You know, Suge Knight, Jay Print, like the list goes on of people in positions to put you on, or who you believe is in a position to put you on, having ridiculous expectations of you or getting you to get out of character in some form or fashion, on the promise of clout, on the promise of being a star, on the promise of being famous. And so I think coming after these youngsters about it, now if they're hollering free SPM, now that's a different issue, right? Because now you're inserting yourself in his case and you're advocating for him. And nobody in their right mind should ever say free SPM. But again, to the best of my knowledge, they haven't. And I would be shocked if Peso ever does a Dopehouse thing again. I would be shocked if OT ever does a Dopehouse thing again. Like they've learned, right? I think, and caught the backlash and had people in their ear. Peso don't need Dopehouse because he's got Sauce Walker. So he has a powerhouse behind him and he's doing his thing, and him and OT are linked up. And so I think they have bright things ahead of them, right? But to keep an eye out, and especially coming from California, a lot of folks be dogging Texas and Texas artists and expects everybody from Texas to have something to say about SPM. And I think it's hard for us to realize just how much of a factor, unfortunately, that Dopehouse has been. But props to these younger folks for getting the message and backing away. And for all this high and mighty shit in California, don't listen to SPM or whatever. Bash did a concert at LA recently. And that Wiggy Diggy, whatever the fuck the song is, I never listened to SPM, right? I didn't listen to him when I was younger because I was a gang member and his name, South Park Mexican, made me think that he was a Southerner and I wasn't going to listen to no Southerner, right? Just to keep it a buck. And but he's from Texas. I don't really care about Texas, just to be real also. And then he comes out, he's a chomo, so I have no interest. But I guess that's one of the most popular songs. Bash was in LA with a large audience, and they were all singing along, right? They were all singing along to Wiggy, whatever the fuck. And so this idea that nobody listens to him in California this and California that, I mean, if that's the case, how come Bash wasn't run off the stage? How come folks was in the audience when he starts playing that song? Nah, man, shut that down. What's crazy, because I don't even think that's Bash's song, right? It's just people don't listen to Bash's music anymore. And his reputation is heavily tarnished by his connection to SPM and by him lying and being a cover man. See, that's different. That's different than a young artist in Peso or OT doing something over a Dopehouse beat or doing something at a Dopehouse show, right? That's different than coming online and being like, I'm going to explain to you why my good friend is not guilty of what they convicted him of. So anyways, I'm curious your guys' thoughts, man. It's a little something different for me. I don't normally talk about Texas, right? But I seen a Carolyn Rodriguez and I was like, damn, they never asked her about SPM. That has to be by design, right? That has to be a requirement of her being there. And why the fuck she talking so much about Dopehouse? She ain't got nothing to do with Dopehouse, right? And then, like I said, seeing the comments and what about this young rapper? And what about that young rapper? Man, let these youngsters eat. Let these dudes get a bag. And they're just trying to make it, And so stay tuned, man. Tomorrow I got the Swifty video, right? Another example of a dude that just want to be a rapper and got in a little bit over his head, to say the least. But now I have that paperwork. It's just going to take me a little more time to set the computer up. And I was scrolling around and I seen the Hood Stocks thing and I was like, man, what's these weirdos talking about? And they was talking about weirdo shit, right? And so again, shout out to Lucky. It ain't nothing against him, but and nothing against Texas, man. Salute to Texas, right? And like I said, I respect it, in these young artists just trying to get their bag. And a little too late for these older cats to try to back up like crawdads now. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you think, man. Help others move in excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. Support Mexican OT. Support Peso Peso. Anything with Dopehouse, man. Burn that shit down, and let's just put an end to all this nonsense. All right, you guys, take care.